Hey, it's Brent Leary. It is Tuesday, although once again, it feels like it's just another Blur's day, as somebody told me once. But it's another day and it's another time for a great conversation. I call this the BBC, not that BBC, not the British guys, although they do some good stuff. But this is the Brent Broadcasting Channel here. And so thank you for joining me. And I want to just thank my guest for joining me for a really interesting conversation. We're going to be talking about folks going back to work safely and folks going back to school safely and companies that have created solutions that are great on their own, but even better when they're working together. And so with me today is Bill Patterson, who's a friend of mine, of course, who is the EVP and GM over at Salesforce for CRM Applications, and a new friend, Kelly Jones. I want to make sure I get your title right, Kelly. Division Head, National Accounts Business Unit at CVS Health. Is that right?
You got it.
Thank you for joining me, both of you. And I've really been looking forward to this conversation. It's a great, timely conversation. So thanks for joining me. So let me kind of get the ball rolling. Your companies, everybody knows your companies individually. And individually, you've been working on solutions to help folks get back to work safely during the pandemic. So before we talk about how you partnered together, maybe I can ask each of you kind of just talk about what you have done leading up to the partnership. Bill, maybe you can fill us in on work.com.
Yeah, first up, Brent, always a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation to share, just what we're doing in this time. And, I'll go back a little bit to something Mark said very early when the crisis came out, Mark Benioff, our CEO, which was, this is our first global pandemic that I've lived through, this first global pandemic he's lived through. And we needed to really lean into the moment of opportunity to say, how can we be here to help? Salesforce as an organization is a culture where our values create immense value, and our values of giving and innovating and being there for companies, especially in this acute time of need, is ultimately kind of what I think led to the essence of creating what we call the Work.com platform. As you mentioned, Work.com, let me just kind of give a quick descriptor for what it is. It's a solution that we built on the Salesforce CRM platform infrastructure to really help organizations come back to work, plan coming back to work, plan their safety for their employees, and to operationalize new policies, new procedures, new focus around things like wellness that I think are really just such a critical function for businesses today to kind of rehydrate, reopen their operations. But the other thing that Work.com did was it really inspired us to lean in with the health and medical expert community. We have great partnerships with UCSF Medical Center, working with great data sets like the New York Times around just the rate of testing and progression of the COVID-19 virus as we think about it around the world. And, we wanted to also lean in with our partners, and I could not be more excited to have our partner in CVS here today, really to kind of talk about how the power of applications and data and ecosystems come together really to manifest this new era of safety. And I think that's really just, kind of the inspiration that we had in creating this new product line.
Hey, Kelly, maybe you could tell us about Return Ready.
Yeah, absolutely. So, kind of similar to Bill, when the pandemic initially started, we realized we've got some amazing assets that we can leverage nationwide to really help the nation, our citizens, our employers out there in the economy. And so from the beginning, we've had our focus on increasing access and accessibility to testing for COVID-19. And so, it's evolved from community testing, just open to the public at our CVS drive-thrus, to now what we call Return Ready, which is really an offering intended for initially employers. And then we realized there's a need as well for universities to be able to offer COVID testing, on their own outside of just the public option, so that they can really get either back to work or to help with business continuity as well. And so we offer testing now as well through our CVS drive-through sites. But additionally, we can essentially stand up a laboratory on site at an employer or campus to be able to increase that local access to testing and basically give folks an easy button to be able to get testing.
So you both were working on solutions kind of individually, But what brought you guys together? What brought the combination of what Salesforce is doing with Work.com with CVS and what you're doing with Return Ready? Whoever wants to jump in and take that.
Yeah, look, I think both of us really are cultures of action. As you talk about, and hear Kelly's words, there was a lot of great innovation that CVS, has in its arsenal to be able to help at this time. And, what we know is that the focus around things like testing, tracing, quarantine, these are kind of key primitives that we've proven to be successful to help, economies get into a better position to be able to reopen. And, as we went forth with the Work.com announcement, I think it was May the 6th, it was not long after that we had a great partner in CVS wanted to stand alongside us to really come in and make this ecosystem really something powerful.
Yeah, and I'll add to that, just, as we think about, testing, it obviously plays a really important role in COVID management, workplace management, campus management, but that's not the only thing that needs to happen. Really, to have a comprehensive view of what's going on in a community, you need to be able to take action off of those test results as well. And so that's really where, where we saw a partner or an alliance possible with Salesforce, where we could kind of complete that circle. So looking at wellness checking, as well as then the contact tracing, and with testing kind of sandwiched in between, and being able to inform both of those or be informed by those tools and those solutions as well.
Yeah, Brent, I just build one other thing that kind of led to the orientation of this. In this time, given the state of the pandemic, the opportunity for the private sector and the public sector to work with one another, I think it's been, in my career, probably the most, I would say, time where that kind of partnership has occurred kind of the best. And we leaned in very early with the state of Rhode Island and Governor Gina Raimondo to really use the Salesforce platform to stand up rapid contact tracing, for citizens of that state. And Rhode Island today is, one of the most densely populated states in the nation, and has done an amazing job with their contact tracing experiences. And also, Governor Raimondo was very instrumental in making the initial connections between our organizations. It's not often that a software company and a health company are working together this closely, but she was very instrumental in also making those initial connections as well.
Talk about the kind of the typical use case. Although I don't know what's typical today, because with this pandemic, different states are getting hit at different times in different waves, and doing things according to what's going on in their local areas. So could you walk us through how like a potential use case, or maybe a typical use case, would be for this partnership?
Yeah, I'm happy to start. And Kelly, maybe you can kind of add in kind of that, especially the employer-led testing scenario. I think would be great here. But Brent, you're totally right. Man, there is nothing typical here. I think we're all experiencing a relative degree of newness around the comfort of coming back to the office. And the one thing that we do know is that data and access to data and clear access to data is super paramount in terms of planning the operations about coming back to work. We leaned in very heavily with Work.com and our Tableau data hub around public and private data sets coming together, giving that information to decision makers, whether that be HR directors, facility managers, operations managers who have to plan the opening of their facilities. The first scenario is just clearly access to data to make kind of those decisions more harmonized. The second thing we did was we built out a wellness surveying application. And this example would be in the event that you were going to plan, say, a reopening of a building, let's say in San Francisco, like where I work here in Salesforce Tower. You would want to notify everyone that the building is open. But prior to coming into the building, let's have you go through a wellness test and a wellness kind of check for at home before you get on, in your car or hop on public transportation. The wellness application for Work.com we built in partnership with the CDC. So we modeled all of the initial questions for CDC guidelines for just overall screening. Those questions also can be modified or tailored to the needs of any state, any geography, any sovereignty that has maybe different data requirements to capture in the moment. All that data is stored privately and with high degrees of discretion in the Salesforce platform. So it's not shared, it's encrypted. And so it's something that, won't be used for marketing or sales reasons. But the wellness application basically says I'm eligible to come in. But, this is where, that's where the work.com platform kind of stops. And this is where really getting into testing as someone gets into the workplace is really paramount. And I think a great opportunity to, for Kelly to share how the CVS solution comes in.
Sure. Yeah. So, that's exactly right. So if you've got the wellness monitoring up front, somebody, raises their hand through that monitoring application that says, hey, you know what, I've got a fever, I'm not feeling well. What do you do at that point? And so that's where, an employer could direct them to Return Ready, depending on which mode of testing that they chose to have available to their employee population, and give them that access and direction on where they could go get a test. And then conversely, if they're already at the work site, they're feeling well, we have a lot of employers that are using testing more as a proactive surveillance tool to make sure, that folks are remaining negative, that they're not there potentially asymptomatic, working on site as well. And so it gives them that option, just one more risk reduction tool in their arsenal of workforce strategy and business continuity. And then conversely, if somebody does test positive, whether it's because they were feeling ill and they got a confirmation, or just through that proactive surveillance testing, then that's where our solution has really robust, comprehensive reporting that the employer can access down to individual level results. We get consent to be able to share that information back with their employer. But then what does the employer do with that information? They need to do contact tracing, especially if that individual had been in the workplace. We need to be able to be sure that if they were in a type of job function where they were interacting with other employees, or might have passed through an area, that's where that contact tracing and the tools that work.com can really fill in that gap and give the resources and the technological aspect to be able to do that contact tracing in a less manual way than what a lot of employers started out with, which was truly just an Excel spreadsheet trying to keep track of it, and that got unwieldy pretty quickly. So being able to really do that full continuum of from symptoms all the way to contact tracing, and then with that testing is so critical in the middle.
I think it's so critical that what Kelly talked about there, because so much of this virus is the asymptomatic community are experiencing, and that's where I think the only way that we have knowledge about whether or not someone actually is testing positive is through testing. And I think that is where the opportunity that our partner in CVS is doing and democratizing testing and getting that out at scale, making that both, kind of in one of their minute clinics around the country, or even in the employer location themselves. This is really, I think, the where it's not just possible, it's where I think these kinds of solutions need to come in to keep our businesses and employees and then customers safe.
Yeah, I would think too that in addition to letting CVS handle it, it kind of makes it more consistent across companies who that's not their expertise, that's not what their core business is, but they need it. And so this kind of testing, and it's not a one-time thing either, because situations change, things happen that maybe didn't happen originally. So this is something that has to be not just a one and done kind of approach. This has to be an ongoing thing, at least for the time being, right?
Oh, completely. I mean, we are in a multitude of crises that we're feeling right now, whether it is, the COVID crisis, the racial crisis that we're in right now. I think businesses need to take added responsibility to take care of, what we call, their stakeholders, including their employees, their customers, their communities. And this is a great example of the, kind of great companies coming together to stabilize the health crisis. But there's also great partnerships we have, that are working on the racial crisis. Also great for the weather crisis that we have with just the hurricanes that hit over the last weekend here in the country. So, at the end of the day, our role at Salesforce and the work.com platform is to mobilize, kind of the operations of an organization to really take care of those around them. And I think I'm so excited about this partnership here. I think this is just a great example of what two great, kind of companies can do when we don't let the rules of engagement kind of get in our way. We just go forward and we solve the problems of the moment.
What do companies need to do to be able to take the most advantage of this partnership? Are there things that they have to kind of make sure that they're organizationally ready to handle before they jump full into this?
Yeah, I think from the Return Ready perspective, we've designed an offering intentionally that's meant to be very personalized and configurable by employer. So we have, multiple different types of testing that they can make available to their employees. So really, it's sitting down, having a conversation, and allowing us to be consultative with them to help them design a testing offering that really meets their specific needs, whether that's rapid testing that's right there on site, taking advantage of the 1,800 CVS and growing testing sites around the nation, or doing an on-site collection event, a large-scale collection event where we can get everybody at one of their facilities, your samples collected all in one day. And so, having just that consultation and talking to somebody who understands what a lot of different employers are doing and trying to manage is how to really start the process, at least from a testing perspective. And then, once they're up and running with us, that's where, that tie-in to work.com happens, where they can allow the testing results to be available within work.com. It's an easy action on their part, but that's certainly something that we recommend taking action off of the data, and that's work.com is a great place to do that.
Kelly just said the perfect word, which is action. What employers need to do is act. And what employers need to do is act in the spirit of what is right for their employees, what is right for their customers, what's right for their communities around them. And it's more than just, kind of investing in technologies. It's really being willing to step into boundaries that maybe once were not clear. As you mentioned, Brent, companies now need to be respectful with data around the health of their employees. They need to help all employees understand the new policies and procedures that will come back into the workplace, meaning maybe I'm not allowed to have personal items on my desk anymore. That might be a new policy that you really see as a result of, kind of this crisis coming full suit. But at the end of the day, it's really action. And I think that what we need right now are not really those just to sit on the sidelines and watch, as this game is unfolding, but really get in there, take care of your employees, take care of your customers, know the role that we have to reopen business, to get our communities back and thriving again. This is truly something I think we need to make sure that we have a culture of action hitting our business landscape around us.
Is this this integrated solution, so to speak, is this aimed at any particular kind of businesses or size of businesses, or who is this for?
The virus doesn't discriminate if you're a big business or a small business, nor do our technologies, right? So this solution really, for work.com, can be used by the smallest of businesses and the largest organizations around the world. And I think that, our partner in CVS is also, really excited at, making sure that everyone has a chance to participate here as well.
Yeah, and I'll echo what Bill said. We've designed the solution in such a way that it's really about what the employer needs to address their specific, type of work that they do, the type of job functions that they do. And if they have enough need for testing given their business, we are happy to be a partner with them to be able to provide that for them.
Do you also kind of help, there's a lot of potentially, each state could have different regulations or different rules. How do you help with that part of the process?
Yeah, so from a Return Ready perspective, we actually handle all of the regulatory reporting. So when you see all those statistics out there on how many positive cases there are, if that test was performed by CVS Health staff, we are handling the reporting to those agencies that then report it out publicly. So we make that easy on the employers and take care of that for them.
Yeah, same on our side. We have built it as really an open platform so that if there are different regulations, or I just saw last weekend that maybe 6 feet is not the required distance that we need to now be spending. So maybe it's now at 10 feet. Well, those are variables that can be easily modified quickly inside the platform. And things like your shift scheduling or your distance spacing for queues can be accommodated appropriately. So, we find out new things about this virus every day. I think sometimes it's a little confusing for businesses about, what are the actions that need to be taken, or should we wait for more clarity here? But technology can facilitate so much good. And, again, working in this open platform way is something that we definitely want businesses to have the tools they need to mobilize.
I'm trying to think of any downsides to this, and I can't, because what we're faced with as a country is so big and so kind of quick moving and top and turns, and things are just happening. And it would be kind of hard for any one business to try to be able to handle all of that while also focusing on their customers and their core business. Where can people learn more about how to get started, maybe learn more deeper information to help them make the decision to take the plunge? Where can they go?
Kelly, well, for me, on work.com, of which we link into all of our partnerships, you can go to the URL work.com. We made it so it was really easy, simple to remember, and a single source, kind of guide. One, on that website, not only we find information about the technology products that we've created, but also access to expert information, downloading, for example, a readiness guide in terms of assessing the overall health state of your business, and access to expert, kind of content materials from leading epidemiologists around the world. I didn't know many epidemiologists before this. I know a few of them now as a result. But if you go to work.com, you can gain access to that information and link to all of our solution partners as well, of which you can see the CVS solution in action.
Yeah, and to get to CVS directly for Return Ready, I wanted to be sure I had this website right. So it's cvshealth.com/Return Ready. And within there's an option to contact us for a consultation. And I think that's a really important key. Is this is complicated. I think, as both of you have mentioned, it's always evolving. We don't want you to make this decision in a vacuum. We want to have a conversation about it. And so within that contact form, we do ask some basic information, and what are you thinking about from testing, or for testing at this point in time, so we can really gauge who the right person is to get in touch with an employer, with a university, to have that conversation. And then we, of course, pull in our Salesforce friends as well to talk about the contact tracing and the wellness monitoring as well.
Well, it's great to see companies like Salesforce and CVS, working separately, but even better to see you guys working together to help businesses of all sizes manage this, because it's, people are trying to get back to work and hopeful about not only getting back to work, but getting back safely and staying at work safely. So this is, to me, a really important partnership that you guys are doing. And I'm looking forward to seeing how you continue to help companies and employees feel safe about working. So thanks again for the time. This is great. Bill, I even made it through without saying anything disparaging about Boston sports. So I know you can appreciate that, right?
Usually that's where we get cut for time.
That's about right there. So, but I appreciate Bill and Kelly joining me today. And please look for the information. I mean, this is such an important topic, and would love to see everybody get back to work and be safe about getting back to work. So thanks again, Bill and Kelly, for joining me. And I will see you guys tomorrow for some other BBC broadcasting, Brent Broadcasting Channel broadcasting. Thanks again. See you tomorrow.